Board Game Man with this week's Top 5 Express Board Games Edition. Each episode, I'm going to give you a topic for the list and give you my picks for 5 games of that topic. This week, so since last week we did the top 5 of 2020, this week I want to give you my picks for the top 5 most anticipated games of 2021. So let's look back real quickly at my list from last year's most anticipated of 2020 and see what I had on there. So I had Paris from Kramer and Kiesling. I still have not played that, but it did come out this year and supposedly pretty good. Bees by Dan Halstead. Again, I have not played that yet. Stellar, which was by Matt Riddle and Ben Pinchback. That was on my top 5 of the year, so a good game I was looking forward to. Techno, Obelisk of the Sun. This also was one that came out. I didn't get the chance to play it, so it was kind of on my honorable mentions list. And also Alma Mater. That's the group from Coimbra, Egizia, Lorenzo, so it's a heavier game. I did just get it recently for Christmas, but I do not have it played yet, so I can't really say where it would end up on my list for the 2020, but it was one that I was looking forward to quite a bit. So without further ado, let's look forward to games coming out this year. I'll also give some honorable mentions and Kickstarters that should be delivering this year. They don't really count on my anticipated since they were Kickstarters that we kind of already obviously have anticipated. Some Kickstarters to launch that are coming soon and a couple of expansions that I'm looking forward to, kind of like I did last year. But number 5, this is a game called Archaeos. This is by Ankama and Board Game Box, and designers Antoine Bauza, Corinne Lebrat, Ludwig Montblanc, and Theo Riviere. This is 1 to 5 players, plays about 60 minutes, and should be a lighter to medium weight game. Now, this is a kind of a campaign story-driven game, which is set among the ancient Egyptian ruins. You're kind of going through these different campaigns with some nice minis, and you're kind of searching and moving and looking and fighting different dangers, looking and trying to get different artifacts and such. You've got your own backpack to store your items between adventures, and the scenarios have objectives that the players will try to accomplish during the game to earn rewards in the form of key items and upgrades that influence later scenarios. So really looking forward to this one. That is Archaeos. Number 4, Sea of Legends. Kind of in the same instance, I really love these kind of campaign, story-driven games. Sea of Legends is by Guildhall Studios, Ryan Schappels, Zach Weissman, Jordan Weissman, and a whole bunch of other people in there. 1 to 4 players. This plays in about an hour or more because it is scenario-driven and kind of a big story, grander story-driven, medium-weight game. You've got some dice rolling, got some narrative, and all your decisions matter throughout the game. You're going to be playing, I believe it's woven together by a companion app is what it says on the BGG entry. So all your decisions and everything you do is going to influence other different scenarios down the road. So this is kind of obviously a swashbuckling type story-driven game that I think will be really, really solid. Number 3, this is kind of a little bit off my kind of wheelhouse, but it does look like a game I'm really looking forward to called Bullet. This is by Level 99 Games. I think this might actually be a cheat, and I apologize for that, because I think this was on Kickstarter. It didn't really hit my radar because I didn't back it, so I apologize for going against my own rules here. But this is kind of a pattern-building, push your luck, with a game where you're kind of either playing a co-op or playing competitively or even solo game where it kind of has almost, I don't want to say it's necessarily like a polyomino or Tetris-like, but you are getting these bullets that you're going to put on your board. Now, depending on where these bullets go and their strength and such and the patterns that you make, you're going to be able to either trigger abilities or get damage or move those bullets to other players or to the boss themselves. So it's a very, very quick playing game. They say it only plays about 20, 30 minutes. 1 to 4 players, like I said, since you can play it solo. It's put out by Level 99 and Josh Van Landingham is the designer. So a very lightweight game. I think the art is absolutely fantastic. I think this is going to be a pretty easy one to play. And since there's a whole bunch of different bosses and players that you can play, it's going to be really cool to check out the different decks and cards that each one will have for the different challenges and how they kind of intermix between the two. So like I said, there's a competitive mode, a boss battle mode, a score attack solo mode, and a team battle mode. So there's all sorts of different modes, and this almost feels like a kind of a video game type play on a tabletop. But that is Bullet. Number 2, this is Descent Legends of the Darkness, one I've been looking forward to for a while, ever since it was kind of announced this year. This is Descent, and it's going to have that, really what makes Descent and the Star Wars game great is that using an app so you don't have to play one versus many. That's why I'm really looking forward to this, and I think this is going to bring Descent into an area where this will probably be top 10 before you know it on BGG. 1 to 4 players, obviously you can play this solo or you can play this as many as you want. It's going to be out by Fantasy Flight Games. Should be out late quarter one or quarter 2. It's going to be a real big box, but just having it being controlled kind of players versus the app is going to be really what I'm looking forward to, and playing that almost D&D type feel or Gloomhaven type feel with that app driven. Not that you need an app for Gloomhaven to have it driven that way, but I think that's what's going to make this, instead of one versus many like normal Descent, using the app will make it feel more like those other type of games. And man, this is going to be really good. It's going to be expensive, but I think you're really going to get a lot out of this. And I think there's going to be adventures that are going to be put out a lot in there, and just the art and just kind of the minis and everything. This is going to be a great, great game. That is Descent Legends in the Dark. And my number one game, anticipated game for this year, is called Golem. Now, this is by Flaminia Brasini, Virginio Gili, and Simone Luciani. Just kind of like I said about Alma Mater and Coimbra. These are people that I really love. This group, I really love the games they put out. They have this nice, hot, heavier weight. It's kind of a medium to heavier weight feel to them. It's going to be probably about an hour and a half to 2 hour heavier Euro for 1 to 4 players, put out by Cranio Creations, who puts out a lot of their other type of these heavier games. But boy, I'm really looking forward to this. I don't know a whole lot about it. Usually they are really good as far as having a unique mechanism that is the quote unquote fun thing to do in a game. So you're going to have action drafting, dice rolling, variable player powers as usual, and variable setup. In the game is based on 16th century legend of Golem of Prague, an anthropomorphic creature that Rabbi Lo and animated and started from a clay statue to protect his people. In the game, players take the role of Kabbalists who create and grow these powerful and magical creatures, and will be moved around the main places of magical Prague under the control of their masters. So it's divided into 5 rounds. At the beginning of each round, the players will place 15 colored marbles into the synagogue, and will spit them out into 5 lines corresponding to 5 main actions available in the game. And of course, the different colors will have the different actions. Man, really cool. Or I guess the lines will have the different actions, and the colors will probably correspond to something else. But really look forward to this one. So that's my number one anticipated. Some honorable mention: the Terraforming Mars. They announced a dice game and a card game that'll be coming out. Hopefully, they'll both be out this year. And boy, am I really looking forward to those. And of course, I mentioned recently on Munchkinland, they announced some unmatched Marvel releases for the year. And boy, I can't wait for those to come out. Now, Kickstarters that should be releasing or delivering this year, that obviously Frosthaven, I can't wait for that to come out. That'll be probably my number one game of all time again once that comes out. Games from Queen Games, Hamburg and Amsterdam. Hamburg is the newer updated version of Bruges, Amsterdam being the updated version of Macau. The Freedom 5 game, Return to Dark Tower, role-player adventures, Ascension Tactics. That takes my great deck building game Ascension and puts it into a kind of a tactical minis board game. That's going to be great. Mercado de Lisboa, which is kind of a card game, very lighter version kind of Lisboa. And Darwin's Journey, another one that, should be a little bit heavier, but is put out by Simone Luciani and Nestor Mangone by Thunderglyph Games. That's very early, and I believe that should be releasing, or maybe it might not release till next year. So this might end up being on next year's list as well, because I think the Kickstarter is just up right now. Kickstarters that will launch this year, Core World Empires, which kind of takes Core World, which is a great deck building game, kind of took deck building in a different direction way back when. I think they had mentioned that it's going to be a solo game, but the BGG entry still mentions it as multiplayer, but I'm pretty sure the designer said this is kind of going to be a real cool solo experience. And Florence. Now, not a whole lot is known about Florence. Florence is one by Dean Morris and also by David Terzi and by Brain Crack Games. This just has so many things, so many mechanisms that they mention in this, and I have no idea what's going on, but it should be a heavier game. They have like 15 different mechanisms that they mention in this, between area majority, area influence, hidden victory points, pattern building, resource moving, set collection, variable setup, worker placement. It's got so much stuff going on. It's a kitchen sink theme that I can't wait to see how it turns out, or when it comes up, or how it plays once it comes up on Kickstarter. And 2 expansions that I wanted to mention that'll be coming out this year: Marvel Champions, the Galaxy's Most Wanted, will be out this year. That's with mostly the Guardians of the Galaxy. And Paladins of the West Kingdom, City of the Crown are ones. So once again, my top 5 anticipated games of 2021: Archaeos, Sea of Legends, Bullet, Descent Legends in the Dark, and Golem. Since we don't really know a whole lot about any of them, you can kind of just shuffle them up and put them in whatever order. It just happens to be 5 games that I'm really looking forward to this year. So thanks for joining me this week on Top 5 Express Board Games Edition. If you have any questions, or tell me what games you're looking forward to in 2021, feel free to comment on this episode on Majorspoilers.com, or go to the site for tons of other great podcasts and content by Steven and the rest of the Major Spoilers crew. I'm Dan the Board Game Man, and you can find me at Geek Jock Blog on Twitter or on the Geek All Stars podcast, and of course the Munchkinland podcast here on Major Spoilers, where I give a twice a month 10 to 15 minute board game news show, or as a contributor at TMSPM, where I do a board game segment with Scott and Brian. I'll be back soon with more top 5 board game goodness, but until then, grab a new board game and have some fun with family and friends.
This podcast is copyright 2021 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.